everyone, and welcome into Yelling from the Couch. I'm Brent Humphreys. I'm joined by my co-host, Gene's Got Picks. How you been the last week?
It's been a roller coaster of emotions this past few days, I'll say at least.
Yeah, it's been one of them weeks, ups and downs. So we'll go ahead and start. I'll go ahead and start with my best thing that I saw from the past week, and that was Coach Prime in Colorado getting game day on campus and getting Fox's Saturday morning show to go to Boulder, Colorado. And then for the Colorado Buffs to go out and win a close game against an in-state rival in OT, Dion has captivated the college football world. Now we'll see if that continues this week against Oregon. But that was my best of the past week was Colorado getting that prime spot, prime, yeah, pun intended there, against, for the whole college football world to see. They're fun to watch. The offense is fun. Shiloh, his oldest son, getting that pick six to begin the game and high stepping it like his daddy did. Just awesome to see. Loved it.
Yeah, like you said, they got a tough task today. Seeing Oregon is not going to be Colorado State, I'll tell you that. But Dion for sure has put a lot of eyes back to college football. 'Cause I feel like the way NCAA has been carrying itself lately, with how they're kind of been outdated with the playoffs and stuff like that. People have been begging. I feel like Dion brought a lot of eyes back to college football. It's pretty good.
Yeah, can't wait to see the game today. If somehow they can pull off this upset today and then go into USC next week, it'll be insane.
Yes, it
Uh,
would.
Gene, what was your best of the last week? If you want to start best, if you want to go worst, you can. It's up to you. I'll let you choose.
Well, I'll save the worst for last, but I'll say my best happened actually last night. The Rangers won, and seeing the Astros lose to the Royals moved us back to first place. So I was pretty excited seeing that because I for sure thought Houston was going to maybe sweep Kansas, and we'll have to basically battle out with Seattle to get that last wild card spot. But seeing Houston lose and we beat the Mariners pretty comfortably. That was probably my best thing that over the past month because I was pretty down about my Rangers basically being in first place all the way up to September, and then having thoughts of basically we might not even make the playoffs after our best season in franchise history.
Yeah, I seen the other night you tweeted that baseball sucks, and I liked it because I was feeling the same exact way you were with my Cincinnati Reds. But just a week left in the season, and the Rangers are back on top in the West.
Yeah.
That's where you want to be right there. You want to go ahead and if you can win that division, get that division. Don't worry about that wild card.
Yes, I mean the wild card. You still got to go through some tough teams just to. I think the Blue Jays are even trying to creep back in. So it would be great.
Yeah, for sure. So now we're going to go to the worst of the week, and my worst of the week was my Bengals dropped to 0-2, and Burrow's calf issues are still lingering. He's questionable going into Monday's game. I think that he's going to play. My sister was telling me that she don't think that he's going to play. She thinks he's going to be out, and she's usually pretty, rosy on things. But I, going into Monday's game against the Rams, it's a must-win in my eyes. You cannot start the season 0-3 and expect to do what you wanted to do for the season. You have Jake Browning as a backup, and then you sign Reed Sennett to the practice squad. It's just not going to get it done if you want to do anything in this league with those guys. With all the talent around, Burrow's got to somehow come out and play. And you can't, like I said, you cannot start 0-3. Bill Belichick and the Patriots signed Will Greer off the practice squad, and he was pretty impressive for the Cowboys in the preseason. So I was kind of like, all right, that's not a bad pickup, but you know, he's not there now. And if you're relying on Jake Browning or Reed Sennett, it is just not ideal at all. That is my worst thing I saw for the week. Um,
Yeah, I
they
can.
just couldn't get a run game going against the Ravens, and they couldn't stop the Ravens' running game. Anytime the Ravens got in a third and short, it was a first down. Too many mistakes in the red zone for the Bengals. Burrow threw a pick in the red zone, but yeah, that's my worst.
Yeah, I can see. I can see how that can be your worst because I remember we spoke like before the season, before week one had started, or actually I think it was week two when it was before the Ravens. We was meant talking about how important that game is because you don't want to start 0-2, and now you're at the point where you definitely don't want to start 0-3 because I'm sure history tells that most teams that start 0-3 do not make it to the postseason. So I don't know, like, what's the vibes for the whole Joe Burrow situation? Because he just got paid. Everybody knows. Okay, maybe the first game is kind of gonna be slow, but now it's 2 weeks. And you definitely don't want to go on 3 weeks if he's possibly out. Like, what are the vibes for the Bengals right now? Are the fans like at a low right now? Because if Barrow doesn't play, I mean, I don't want to be naive, but let's be honest, if Barrow doesn't play, it's probably gonna be a loss because, like you said, Jake Browning. I mean, his preseason game was not impressive at all. So if he has to be out there to provide some type of spark, that's pretty bad. Like, what's the vibe right now for Cincinnati?
Yeah, if it's not good right now. Joe Burrow, the last since he's been in the league, his first two games of the year, his record is 1-7 overall. That's kind of expected because he doesn't play in the preseason. He gets off to a slow start. But this is a different kind of feel with him and his calf injury. If like you said, if Jake Browning comes in and has to play, you're going to be relying on a running game that you have not been able to get going this season yet to kind of carry you to a win. And that is just not ideal at all. And Bengals fans right now are very concerned about this situation. Uh, and, with, you finally started seeing the offense click a little bit last week towards the end. And, it seems like it's kind of getting back on track. They got in a little late on the, you know, getting everything going, but it's not there yet. And with this injury, if he doesn't play this week, what is it going to throw him back off again if he's off a couple of weeks and he comes back? I mean,
Yeah, you
you
basically gonna
know,
have to reset all over again.
yeah, and it's just getting stuck in the mud pretty much. Is what it is, and the vibe is not good right now in Cincinnati.
Well, that leads me into my worst thing from this past week. It was actually a few days now. Trayvon Diggs turned his ACL. Uh,
Yeah,
wasn't the best news I wanted to hear. Um, Definitely after how explosive this defense has been. Um, and I think part of it was due to our secondary was like it's so good that it takes the quarterback a while to find the open guys, and then our D line is able to get there for the rush. So now I think Stephon Gilmore is 33, so he's at the tail end of his prime, and we have a guy named Deron Bland who was a guy that showed some potential that he could be a starter. And we have Jordan Lewis too that can play the nickel, but I mean, you want to have a guy like Trayvon Diggs on the field at all times because I mean, the guy has 14 interceptions 1 year. It's definitely not the best situation. I will say this though, if there was any position that we could afford to kind of take a step back in was our secondary, because I feel like if this was somebody on the defensive line, it would have been some real problems. But I still feel like Gilmore can give us his best. And Deron Bland, I think he can still learn. Over the season, he may show improvement. The issue is now though is if we have an injury with any of them, now we're in some deep trouble because I mean if you don't have at least two guys that you can say you trust out there at all times, whether it's your nickel in one corner on the outside or both your corners on the outside, if you don't have two guys you for sure can trust, you're most likely cooked in the NFL because most teams now have two receivers that can average 1,000 yards a season. So that's probably my worst thing, seeing Trayvon Diggs out for the year.
Yeah, man, I saw that report the other day towards ACL in practice, and I was like, man, that's a big blow to Dallas because he is that playmaker in the defense back there. I believe I read a stat since he's been in the league, he is tied for the most picks by defender since he joined the league. So that's going to be a huge loss, of course.
Yeah.
Uh, but your Cowboys, like you said, the defense still looks great even without Diggs. Other guys are going to have to step up. Had a pretty big win the other day over the Jets, dominating fashion again.
So,
Uh, the Jets, I thought the only way the Jets would have been able to stay in this game against the Cowboys because I thought their defense was better than what it was, but Dallas kind of took them to the woodshed. I thought the Jets would need to get that running game going with Brees Hall, Michael Carter, Dalvin Cook, and they couldn't get nothing going. When Zach Wilson's your leading rusher, that says something about the defense that they are playing against.
yeah,
And
that's the
yeah,
problem.
yeah, Dallas looked pretty good in that one. Sunday they've got Arizona. Uh, you probably feel pretty good about that game right there.
Yeah, I mean, if we lose to Joshua Dobbs, then yeah, we need to start panicking because losing Diggs must have been a big issue if that was to happen. So
Yeah, it definitely would be if that was the case there. But Dallas seems to be in pretty good shape for this Sunday at least. We'll see how the Diggs injury affects the team going forward. Speaking of injuries, another bad thing that I saw from this past week: Monday Night Football, Cleveland Browns, Pittsburgh Steelers, two teams that I absolutely cannot stand. But But at the same time, Nick Chubb is a great running back, one of the best in the NFL. I said he was like one of the top three because he destroyed the Bengals every time he plays them. But to see him go down with that injury against the Steelers, it was horrible to see. Did you happen to see the replay on that? Because they wouldn't show it on ESPN.
yeah, I mean, Twitter flooded the homepage with it. I mean, it was a nasty injury, and I think he had a similar injury in college. So
Yes.
thoughts and prayers to him. That's an injury that you know first time with modern technology and modern science, doctors can reconstruct it and probably get you back right. And it probably helps too if you're 22, 23 years old. But you know, uh, he's a veteran, so this injury, I'm sure it's gonna probably be a setback for him. I mean, it sucks that it happened. I saw a lot of people too getting on Mika about the way he tackled. I mean, Mika's like what, 180 some pounds, maybe
Yeah.
2 pounds. Like nobody's going high against Nick Chubb. Like you
No.
know, defensive backs usually will go lower on the bigger running back. It's just one of those plays where as soon as he planted his foot, the hit happened. It was just a bang bang play, and I hope the best for his recovery.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, he was injured in Georgia uh, I think 8 years ago or so, and he came back from that. and turned into a really nice running back in NFL. And anytime that I could take a shot at the Steelers for having a cheap shot or something, I will. But like you said, in this case, this was not a cheap shot. What else is Fitzpatrick supposed to do there? You have to go low on Nick Chubb. I mean, you're not going to bring that guy down going up high. You're going to get run over pretty much if you try to go up high on there. But
Yeah.
just awful. Don't know if he'll be able to come back from this. He may not be the same running back after, trying to come back again a second time after an injury like that. So just if he does come back, I think that, I just don't think he'll be the same running back. Just hope that everything works out all right for him and he gets healthy again. That's all you can
Yeah.
really say that.
And like you were saying about Minka not being dirty, he was injured on the play too. I think he was out for the game for the rest of the game. So I'm sure he wasn't. Even even if in his head he was trying to do something cheap, I'm sure he didn't want to put himself out the game. So it's just one of those. It's football. It's a gladiator sport, and injuries like this sadly happen sometimes. So
Yeah, it's every week somebody's going to get hurt and injured. It was unfortunate that it was one of the best running backs in the league, and your leg's not supposed to go like that. And like I said, just hope for all the best in his recovery.
yeah,
Uh, so switching gears now from NFL, we kind of hit NFL, we kind of hit baseball. Well, we hit your baseball team. I'd like to go to my baseball team real quick. This could have been a worst of the week as well. My Cincinnati Reds had some momentum going into Tuesday's game against the Twins. You are tied for the last wild card spot, and the Reds have reeled off 3 straight losses and
mm.
now are a game and a half back with 7 games to go. It is not looking good in Cincinnati for postseason play. Have you kept up with any of that, Gene?
yeah. I mean, 'cause I'm a gambling man, so I've been keeping my eye on Cincinnati, and let's just say I was part of one of those games. That was a three-game loss. So I was a bit upset too. I don't know what it is. I think off season, and I know Cincinnati Reds fans may not want to even hear about the off season because they want to get to the postseason. But the number one thing in the off season is get a ace, get a guy that we can throw out there that we know he can be a stopper because I mean, gosh, like the games are fun watching the Reds. I will say that. You will
Yeah.
not have a dull moment watching the Reds because it's fireworks every inning almost. But man, sometimes you just want a boring inning where it's no score, like nobody scored. Like it's it, like I said, ever since I've been on the show, I'm kind of becoming a fan, more of a fan for the Cincinnati team. So like I said, I was definitely disappointed in that three-game losing streak. I don't know, you know, I, I don't know what you could do in the foreseeable future for the rest of the season, but I mean, it's like I said, it's still fireworks, but the pitching has to get it settled down if you want to at least once you if you get to the wild card, stay in.
Yeah, absolutely. Like it's with the pitching, you've got Hunter Greenback, who is pitching pretty good right now, but we all
Yeah,
know Hunter Green's, susceptible to injuries. Then
yeah,
you've got Andrew Abbott, who has been a rookie, has pitched good for most of the season, but he's a rookie. He's not used to all these innings and going this long of a season. And then you've got players you're bringing up from Double A to start Major League Baseball games down the stretch of a playoff run. And then you've got people in the bullpen who are, openers for the games. And it's just not ideal for the pitching situation. Like you said, they need an ace to go out there and to be able to lean on. And they don't have that right now. Uh, Pittsburgh took care of the Cubs for you to keep you in that race. And
yeah,
then but then at the same time, that gives Pittsburgh momentum, and they roll into Cincinnati and win the first game of that series. it's just not looking really good for the Reds with 7 games to go. They're still in it. I'll still watch. Like you said, it's explosive. There's something going on every inning to keep you invested, but it makes you want to pull your hair out to watch this team by the 9th inning. It's very stressful.
Like you said with Hunter Green, he has showed that he can. He has the thing about Hunter Green. He shows that he can be the ace. He just the best ability is availability, and if you can't stay on the field, that's going to be a problem in the long run when it comes down to contract talk. But he has shown that he got everything. He got the whole package to be the ace. You just gotta, just stay on the field, and add up innings. Because I don't know off the top of my head, but he hasn't pitched that many innings because he's been out for a while. So
Yeah.
and that Abbott, he's been doing well, but he's a rookie. And you don't want to put too much on his plate his first year.
Yeah, and if the Reds were like for sure out of it, I'm pretty sure they would have probably already shut Andrew Abbott down for the season because of wear and tear on him to begin. But were they in the thick of it, and he's been the most consistent pitcher all season since he's been brought up. Reds are leaning on him to try to do something this year. So we'll see how it all works out. There's a week left of baseball, and hopefully the Reds can sneak their way back in there. Speaking of baseball, one of my favorite players, Ronald Acuna Jr., became the fifth player in history to go 40 home runs, 40 steals in a season. That guy's exciting to watch. I love watching Ronald Acuna Jr. play.
That man's a monster. 40 home runs and 40 steals.
Yeah.
Man. I mean, I'm a bit of a hater for the Braves because they're always like, from when I've been watching baseball, they have always been good or like in the mix. So, man, like it's he's the leadoff guy. So, like there's not many. When you look through the Braves lineup, there's not many holes where you can like, okay, I can get out here. Like this, the lead out guy is Acuna. So not only you gotta the mind games are okay, don't give up the long ball, but even if he gets a single, he's still in second base and he might still third. Like the guy's a monster.
Yeah. Yeah, that's impressive, like you said, for a leadoff guy, and that Braves lineup is just top to bottom dangerous as can be. I don't see how anybody can beat them in a 7-game playoff, but that's why they play the games, I guess.
Would you give Acuna the MVP?
Yeah, I mean he's my MVP right now.
Yeah, I
I
would.
don't see why you wouldn't give him the MVP.
I would see if maybe Otani was still playing and he was adding on to his stats. Maybe that conversation. Oh no, he's an American. My fault.
Yeah, he's American League, but I mean, who else would you get?
Yeah,
For the National League. I mean, the top name that comes to mind to me is Acuna. I know his teammate Olson's got 50-some home runs, but I think 40 and 40 is more impressive than 50 home runs. That's just me. But yeah, so that's kind of our baseball for the week here. We'll switch gears again, and we'll go back to football, but this time we will go to the college ranks. Gene, last week the Kentucky Wildcats had a large win over Akron, but once again, the fan base is not too impressed with the way the offense is going. We feel like there should be more. They got over half of their yards on 4 plays against Akron in a 35-3 win. There was a few turnovers, so we had to see that stupid turnover tire from Akron on the sideline. Just never a good thing if you see that from an opponent. But Kentucky this week starts SEC play against Vanderbilt. Hopefully they can get the offense rolling the way everybody wants to see it. Like I said, they've been winning impressively. Nothing's been really close, but still they haven't got on that right track like I wanted them to be yet.
Well, I mean, at least the defense is, you said they had turnovers. At least the defense is only giving up 3 points. Now I know, you're gonna face tougher competition in SEC, but in today's college football, with how explosive and tempo and all that, to only give up 3 points, that's pretty good for your defense, for at least the confidence in knowing that you can get stops. And you said the offense turnover. I wasn't able to catch that game. What was the turnover? Was it interceptions?
Yeah, Devin Leary threw an interception, and then like I said, the turnover tire came out after that. But yeah, it was that, and then there was a fumble loss, uh, two lost actually. Wide receiver and the tight end fumbled it. The tight end caught a ball over the middle, and when he was coming back down, he was trying to fight for a few more extra yards, and they stripped him. And the stupid turnover tire came out again, and you know it, it's cool that they've got something. Akron's got something there, but I mean, it's just
A tire,
a tire.
a tire was like the coach just said in the offense. You like, you know what will bring recruits? A tire.
Tire. Let's get the spare tire out of the van back here and just throw it out on the field, and we'll put it on your helmet, and let's go from there. Yeah. But yeah, it was three turnovers last week. They got to clean that up a little bit. Like I said, the tight end Jordan Dingle, he caught it and he was trying to gain some extra yards. In that situation, you're already in the red zone. Just go down. You got five people trying to take you down. You're the only one. There's going to be a couple of guys that's going to try to wrestle that ball away, and you just got to just take a knee. It's fine. You're not going to gain nothing much. Fight for a few more yards.
Yeah,
Uh,
I'm sure he's trying to become a hero and
yeah.
make a play. But if you're turning the ball over, that is the easiest way to be sitting next to your parents in the bleacher.
And you just talk about the Kentucky defense giving up just three. They didn't give up a whole lot of yards. The defenses looked pretty good the first three games of the season. They're opening up SEC play against Vanderbilt, which is kind of easing you into SEC play. Vandy's not, Vandy's Vandy, but
Yeah,
they did
man.
beat Kentucky last season, but Kentucky got their running back that ran all over us, and they're pass heavy. So we'll see how that defense does against a pass heavy team. That's a little bit better than the opponents they have been playing, but it's still not the level of the other opponents you'll see in this SEC coming up.
Yeah, I think you guys should take care of Vanderbilt. From the games I've been watching of Vanderbilt this season, like you said, they pass the ball, but it's not to a point where it's like, oh man, to blow. Where once you see the guys that you are either equal or they're a little bit better than you, like I don't know if that same. It seemed like a lot more three and outs for Vanderbilt once the level of competition will go up, because if you're throwing the ball on all three downs, I mean, and a defense that have more than likely watched enough film on you. I'm sure these out of conference teams are not studying night and day on Vanderbilt offense, but a team like Kentucky, I'm sure you beat them the year before, they're going to come out there prepared to stop that passing attack.
Yeah, and I watched a little bit of that Vanderbilt game at the end, and it was like 40-37 out in Vegas, and they let UNLV just go right down the field, get in field position, and kick the game-winning field goal. Saturday during the Kentucky Akron game, uh, your Texas Longhorns faced the Wyoming Cowboys. I didn't see the game because of Kentucky was playing at the same time, but I saw the score and it was like 10-10 going into the fourth quarter.
Yes, I have a nickname for this Texas team. They are the Sleepy Texans. Uh, for 3 quarters, they're asleep, and then it's like a sleeping giant for the fourth quarter. They just run off for 3 touchdowns and cover the spread or whatever. Like I don't understand how it, it's almost like we play down to to their level of competition because you go out to Bama and you punch them in the mouth. Basically, it took you the fourth quarter to get points and get a comfortable lead, but in a sense, you go to Tuscaloosa and you punch them in the mouth. You come back home and you kind of get fat and lazy, and you think we're 5 stars. We don't have to go all out against Wyoming, but I don't know what's the speech at halftime, but whatever it is, it works. So I'm gonna relax. But we are very sleepy for the first 3 quarters. I don't like that for when we have to play teams late on in the season. Like I mean, honestly, Baylor this today is a scary game for me because it's an in-state rival. Baylor's not bringing in 4 or 5 star recruits like they have in the past, but when you get a chance to see those guys that was 4 or 5 stars, you're kind of ready to up your level of play because people doubted you. So this Baylor game, it scares me. And then the next week, I don't know if we play. I think we play Oklahoma the next week. I might have it a week ahead. I might be a week ahead, but those 2 games scare me because definitely Oklahoma game is going to be a sweat because OU and Texas, the history of the rivalry is it's always bad blood in that game. So I'm definitely nervous today. I have to say it. If we're gonna be sleepy for 3 quarters and then decide to wake up in the fourth, that's not gonna work out against you know the at least top 6 of the Big 12 conference. Like even if we have to see Texas Tech, if we go into that game sleepy, like it's gonna be a problem.
Yeah, they got Baylor tonight. Baylor hasn't had the best start to the season, but it's an in-state rivalry. Baylor, I think, is still a good team, but it's at Baylor next week. Kansas, Texas, and Kansas.
See,
Kansas, yeah,
that's a game where if you're sleepy, Kansas will run up the score on you.
yeah. Kansas has the last couple of years, at least, or 3 years or so, has really come on and has been an exciting football team. Like you said, you can't mess around with Kansas. And then, of course, the week after, the Red River rivalry or shootout, whatever it's called, but there's a lot of R's in that. But definitely that one right there, you can't mess around with and getting off to a slow start there. But it's pretty good, pretty good little stretch of games there for Texas coming up.
Yeah, we're about to see if they're the real deal or not. Because I tell you, if you lose to Baylor, you can kiss that number 3 rank goodbye. You probably won't even sniff the top 10 again. So
Oh
you
yeah,
know,
absolutely. Uh, and then they beat Alabama 2 weeks ago, and then Alabama comes out last week against South Florida and couldn't get nothing going at all. They ended up winning 17-3, but South Florida hung in for 3.5 quarters before Bama got that second touchdown. Does that worry you any at all?
yeah, because I mean, if I remember correctly, I think they subbed the quarterback out too. And I was watching the show when Nick Saban was on. And he was saying he's just trying to test character and see how a guy responds. And I understand that, but it says something when it gets to the point in the middle of a game where your original starting quarterback is not hurt or showing signs of being hurt. You're like, you know what? Hey, maybe we want to put this guy in instead to give us a spark or something. It says it's something there, but I will say I am worried about Bama. It seems like this Bama team is not one of the same Bama teams from the past 5 years. This team, I don't know what it is. They don't have that. Yeah, we're the top recruits, but we're still gonna go full throttle, all the way. you know, go out get after you. Like this team seemed complacent, seemed like they're okay with going through the motions because they knew they was gonna be South Florida. You know, I think that they over time the better team, better offensive line, the better defensive line, in the fourth quarter is gonna usually take over. But there's some problems going on with that Bama team. I think for sure.
Yeah, something's up down there. I don't know. I don't want to say, Saban is done because, greatest college football coach in history. You don't want to count him out, but you got to find a quarterback. He's played two different quarterbacks last week, and neither one of those was his starter against Texas, Jalen Milroe. So you really don't know what they've got. They've got Ole Miss today at Ole Miss, and that's going to tell us a lot about this Alabama team right there facing
Yeah,
the SEC team like Lane Kiffin. And if Lane Kiffin can stick it to Saban, he is going to try to stick it to Saban.
definitely is because Ole Miss has been one of the top offenses the past 2 or 3 years. So if Bama is struggling to even get past the 50-yard line against South Florida, man, I mean, I think the game is going to be close. I don't think Ole Miss will run off on Bama, but it can get away from Bama real quick because like you said, Lane Kiffin, if there's anybody he wants to beat, it would be Nick Saban. Who wouldn't want to beat, like you said, the greatest college football coach of all time? Like you would want that on your resume.
Absolutely. And, you know, this could be a year if Bama's a little down, if Kentucky could play a little bit better. Kentucky's got Alabama coming into Lexington later in the season. It would
Ooh,
be a nice time for Kentucky to get that win over Alabama, and say, "Hey, look, we beat Bama." Show recruits,
yeah,
So
the recruits for that would go crazy probably because I mean, you beat Bama, you got something special going. Regardless, even if it's a bad Bama team, bad Bama teams can beat most of anybody in any conference, but you get a win over Bama, hey, you might as well get them NIL deals ready.
yeah, yeah, and like you said, a bad Bama team. It's still coached by Nick Saban, so like you said, that's something to say, to a recruit. Uh, also, college football last week in the SEC, a surprising outcome. The Florida Gators, who I thought was going to be just terrible this year, put a beat down on Tennessee Volunteers, 29-16. This game was not even that close.
Man.
I was just, I guess Florida finally realized that they had an ETN as a running back and used him in this game. I don't like either team because of the SEC, but as a Kentucky fan, I hate Tennessee football. So I enjoyed seeing that beat down on them. Everybody thought, Tennessee was a national championship contender. They thought that, they were UT, but they're not the real UT. We know who the real UT is in college football, but they like to go around saying they're UT. But it was just fun to see Tennessee get beat down like that last week.
Well, you say it was fun, but it wasn't fun for my bank account because I took Tennessee. I took Tennessee, and I didn't watch the game, but you could check the scores on your phone, and and some told me like, hey, let me tune into this Tennessee game, and it was like the third quarter, and my mouth dropped. Like what in the world am I looking at right now? Like I honestly did not expect that because like you said, Florida after the Utah game, I thought them boys was done. I
Mm-hmm.
thought they melted in for the year. I thought they would, maybe be like a 8-win team. But I mean, them boys woke up against Tennessee. Like against Tennessee. And now I must say I am part of the crew. I hate Tennessee as well.
There we go. That's not the real orange. That's not the real UT. you know. But it's got me, kind of worried now about Florida. Kentucky faces Florida next Saturday, and now you seen what they did to Tennessee. You thought maybe we can get that pretty easily. Now it's going to be a harder game than what you thought it was before facing Florida, but it's the SEC.
Yeah.
It's going to be tough anyways.
Yeah, I was about to say, I mean, SEC is full of NFL talent, so any given week, you can have an upset, or you can just see whatever team that you thought was completely dead, like Florida, make some noise and show that they still have some life.
So another injury in college football. Back to Colorado, and Travis Hunter takes a shot, stays in the game for a little bit, ends up leaving the game and going and staying all night in the hospital. He's
Mhm.
released, but Dion's expecting him to be out for a couple of games. About the hit on Travis Hunter the other night.
Yeah, that one was tricky because you see replays of the ball basically being out of bounds and then the safety hit him. But, you know, college football is such a fast game, and I mean, it is Travis Hunter, so you expect sometimes the superstars of the team to get, some chippy shots. I won't call it a cheap shot. It was
Yeah.
a chippy shot. It was a shot that maybe could have been avoided, but if you're that defensive back, you're like, you know what, I'm going to hit Travis Hunter because he could possibly catch this at any moment and take this for 60, 80 yards. So, it was a very, 50-50. I think, maybe it should have been a flag at least. I'm not saying the player should have been suspended or anything like that, but, the it was an up high hit. So if anything, that's what the NFL and NCAA is trying to take out. They're not trying to have guys get hit in the head, as much as they did in the past. So, I, that probably would have been my only issue with that situation. But you know, I'm sure Travis Hunter knows when you're the guy, a lot of people are going to try to take you out.
Yeah, I thought that it was an unnecessary hit. Like you said, he hit him up. If anything else, I don't know the kid's intentions, but I don't think it was a cheap shot. I don't think he was trying to say, "Hey, I'm going to make myself famous here and take out Travis Hunter." But it definitely should have been a flag, I believe. Like should have checked it. Maybe I don't know if it'd be targeting, but unnecessary roughness, I believe, is what they call it. But I would have probably thrown the flag there. Just you know, really didn't need to do that. But it's going to hurt Colorado coming forward, especially in these next two games. You want your full strength. You want to be on that big stage. Travis Hunter is one of your best players, exciting player on both sides of the ball. And to have him going against Oregon and USC these next few weeks would have been huge and would have, boosted your chances for sure. But now they're without him, and we'll see how they are. And hopefully he makes a full recovery and comes back in the next few weeks.
Yeah, all eyes are now on Shador. I mean, is Shador gonna have another? If Shador throws for 400 yards against Oregon, I mean, I know Caleb Williams is still the guy, but we're gonna have to give Shador his props because at first he went to a HBCU. Everybody was like, oh, the talent is different. You're not seeing a bunch of D1 guys of the SEC type of level. I mean, but now, I mean, he's going out there throwing for 400 yards. If he does that against Oregon, I mean, I'm not necessarily going to say he's a first round pick choice. 'Cause I would still choose Caleb over him. I think if I had the option for a first round pick, but at least the Heisman talk should now be on Shador if he has a 400-yard game like he has been these past few weeks.
Oh yeah, if Shadur comes out and tears it up, he's definitely should get a Heisman. He should definitely have a seat in New York come December for the Heisman time, especially. Like you said, Caleb Williams is still the favorite by far, but Shadur should be in that conversation, no doubt, especially if he comes out and balls out like he has been. Uh, so, Gene, do you have anything else?
Nah, I just hope the next time we get on this podcast that my team Texas didn't let me down, or you might not hear from me if the Cowboys lose to the Cardinals. So just ahead.
Oh man, I hope to come on here next week, and when I give my best, I'm like telling about my teams, and then when I give my worst, I'm talking about some other team out there that's not my team. Uh, but until then, I mean, go Cats, hook 'em horns. How
Yep.
about them boys? Who Day?
Who
Uh,
they?
go Reds, go Rangers. And we'll see how it goes, man. Thanks for joining me again this week. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having
And,
me.
uh, you are at Legene53 on X.
Yes, sir.
All right, go check him out, and we'll see you in the next one. Later.
Yay!